I don't think so. It kind of hurts my throat, Morty. It's Pickle Rick.
Can you do Morty too?
Look, Rick. I don't know, okay? Just because you're a pickle, what is this supposed to mean? Look, Morty, not everything has to have layers, okay? I'm a pickle. Isn't that enough?
All right, that is. I cannot even lie. I can't even make fun of that. That was just impressive. All right, maybe that's what our question should have been.
That show.
Yes, you do. All right, I think we're live right now. Hello, everyone. This is Between the Streams. This is
true.
Our weekly entertainment podcast where we talk about movies and television and everything going on with the world with that. Not just impressions, although that was pretty good. So we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube right now, and we love to have everybody involved with this and let us know your opinions on the things we're going to talk about. So we cover a lot of different stuff, and today we're going to be talking about all kinds of things that are going on with Netflix and upcoming movies and television shows. But of course, because this is everything in movies right now, comic book movies.
Yeah.
And we've got some news with Netflix buying Millarworld. I'm going to talk about that. But the question that we wanted to ask is, what comic book character do you think deserves a movie next? Because it seems like they're all going to get one eventually.
Or a TV show.
Or a TV show, yeah, one or the other. And just to see what some opinions are, I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And before we get into that, so go ahead and drop in your comments and questions on that specific topic. I do want to get to some new Star Wars news, though, as well. So maybe we should launch right into that.
Yeah,
Talk
sure.
about some Star Wars first, and then we'll circle back around and talk about the comic book characters. But Star Wars news. We found out some more things about The Last Jedi, which is coming out later on this year, and I don't know if I'm that excited about it. So here's
Well, the picture is worth 1,000 words.
the picture is worth 1,000 words.
It's a
You're
little
right.
weird.
Okay, see,
All of them are.
Some comments come in about the comic book movies, so we're going to definitely get back into that. Just talking about some Star Wars really quick. And what we found out this week, as we're finding out more about this, and of course we left off where Luke is on this island, an island planet basically, or a planet full of islands, and we found out now that he is not the only creature on there. There are other aliens that live on this planet where Luke is, one of which is the Porg. So the Porg, and we got a picture of them if you're watching live.
That's the owl bunny?
That is I think you would call it an owl bunny. Oh, that's the caretakers.
Okay, that's the caretakers.
I may have mislabeled these things. Okay. But yeah, so the Porg, that's probably my fault. So the Porg. So if you're watching live right now, there's a picture that came out with the Porg, and it is a picture of it next to a Chewbacca. It does look like an owl bunny is kind of a good description.
I thought it was a meme. I thought somebody was making fun of it. I don't follow these memes very well, so I thought maybe that owl bunny is like a thing out there, but it turns out that's an actual Star Wars character, which I'm not that stoked about.
Okay, it's being questioned what I said. Not Borg with a B, Porg with a P.
Yes.
So the Porg, and they look like hamsters.
Porgy and
hamsters is that it.
Yeah.
So I hope we don't have another Jar Jar Binks situation. They look like maybe this is an Ewoks replacement. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they turn out to be really badass and they're like killers or something.
Yeah, I mean, I have faith in J.J. Abrams' stewardship, but that was a weird picture. I really thought that was a doctored picture.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an indication that some of this stuff we shouldn't see ahead of time.
Yeah.
The problem with the Star Wars movies is we get every little increment of it, and sort of little seeds that are laid out in a trail before us, and then we form our own sort of idea of what the movie's going to look like, and then we get to go see the movie. It's like, oh, actually, this is great. Oh, that's what that is, and then your brain puts it all back together in the right order.
It makes more sense.
But it's maybe sometimes we don't need to see pictures of owl bunnies that are going to freak us out.
Well, there's the owl bunnies, and then there's also the other alien creatures that are on there are called the caretakers, and is a female race. They kind of look like turtles. Walking, I would say turtles. And
they look a lot like sea turtles.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, only they're kind of like nuns, and they take care of the Jedi temple. That's what they are. So it's a race of female sea turtles dressed like nuns that take care of the temple.
That's who Luke's been hanging out with?
That's who Luke's been hanging out with this entire time.
That's like who he goes to dinner with and stuff?
He hangs out with the turtle nuns.
That's
weird. The turtle sisters. All right. So that's where he is. So that's what we found out. Those are going to be the two alien races that are going to be on Luke's planet where he is going to be. I'm seeing a lot of comments coming in through, Lavaniel says they look more like snakes. So I could kind of see that. I can kind of see that too.
No, we said turtles.
Okay, turtle sisters. So that's what we found out about that. And one other thing that we did get to see this week is a little bit more information on Snoke, the leader of now I'm Of course, blanking on their name. The leader of the bad guys. I'll get called out, I'm sure,
the
just well
Empire.
on Facebook and
The new
YouTube
Empire.
right now. Anyway, we did get to see a little bit of Snoke and some of his guards.
The First Order.
Who are going to the First Order, thank
Yes.
you. The Praetorians are going to be the guards for Snoke. And they look a lot like, they're dressed in red. They look a lot like the original Emperor's guards from the original series. Kind of. Except these guys are more mobile.
They look more like samurais to me.
Right.
That samurai like mask that they used to wear. And even their sort of their armor looks more almost like Japanese, like antique.
Yeah.
With like a retro, it's like steampunk Japanese samurai.
Steampunk Japanese samurai. There we go. All right. Well, we've labeled everything. So we did get to see that. So that's just some of the news that we got to see about Star Wars this week. And of course, we'll always find out more about what's going on with The Last Jedi as it goes on. Elliot
and we also found out that we're going to know who Daisy Ridley's parents are in case you didn't already know that.
Right.
It's been sort of confirmed that that's going to be
that'll be revealed
in the next movie, yeah.
Who do you think it is? Think it's somebody we already know or somebody we don't?
I don't know. In fact, that's what Trevorrow and co. were kind of trying to push away. They were saying that, it's Trevorrow, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Okay. Yeah, but I couldn't remember if it was Ryan Johnson or Trevorrow, but Ryan Johnson's doing 9. So many Star Wars movies. But yeah, they were saying that it may not really matter that much to her story anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of
there's
ancillary.
been speculation that maybe we find out that her parents are just some random people.
And she just happened to be born with and with the capabilities. Okay, well, that could be it.
We'll see.
All right, so again, just kind of updating on what we found out about Star Wars, and then we're going to circle back around and talk about what comic book characters should have their own movie, because there's going to be a lot more coming out. I can see people coming in here.
What do we got so far?
The Max Creed, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with that. Wilbur from Charlotte's Web should get their own movie. All right. Captain Carrot and his zoo gang. Again, you could just be making things up, and I'm just going to read them, and I don't know if that's an actual comic book character or not.
I know. We just put ourselves in a bad position because we don't know that much about
Hawkman and Hawk Girl. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see that actually getting their own one. So I'm gonna let you know about some potential ones here in just a little bit. Oh, the Joker getting their own movie. I could see maybe that. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, the Joker. Christian also said Ryan Johnson is doing 8. So.
It is 8. Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's before we get into the comic book stuff, and I want to talk about the whole Disney split from Netflix and what that means for a little bit of that, and then go into what Netflix is doing now, trying to bring in more comic book movies. But we do have just a brief weekend box office that we have to hit here at the beginning for movies if you're going to go out and see something this weekend. And really, there's not a lot of new movies coming out that we would recommend. However, Annabelle Creation is out this weekend. If you're a fan of the Conjuring series, I like the Conjuring movies.
Is that who produces this one?
It's the same thing. So the Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, Annabelle is a prequel to the Conjuring, and then Annabelle Creation's a prequel to that, or somehow it loosely ties in.
And the guy who directed it is the guy who did the first one, and he also did Lights Out, which was that cool movie that got made out of a
Lights
short
Out
film.
was pretty good.
Yeah.
Lights Out was pretty good. So that
could be all right. It's getting middling, like 70% or so reviews on Rotten Tomatoes overall. But what I am saying is if you have the opportunity, that you should go out and see Dunkirk in 70 millimeter. Now, what does
that's what you're recommending
what
instead.
What does that mean, Greg? What is 70 millimeter?
It's a philosophical
it's not a gun.
Question that
Most
you're
people
saying?
think it's a gun these days, I would imagine.
All right, why don't you explain here what 70 millimeter is?
It's the step up from the 50 millimeter.
Okay.
No, so the 70 millimeter is this high resolution format. It's actual film. Now, for a lot of people may remember this coming around when Quentin Tarantino put together The Hateful Eight.
Yes.
For that, he and the Weinstein Company went around and basically single-handedly resurrected the format. They put together about 100 or so projectors on their own with this thing. They brought them around. They went around the country. They spent around $10 million or so. It's estimated to restore these 70 millimeter projectors so that different theaters around the country could carry The Hateful Eight in 70 millimeter. So they basically single-handedly resurrected the format now. Christopher Nolan is a huge fan of film. He doesn't like digital very well. He shot this entire film, Dunkirk, in high-res IMAX cameras, and now they're playing it on actual film in 125 theaters. It's the most that have been played on 70 millimeter for 25 years. And I have to tell you, when you sit down in the theater, you will know it. It is an absolute visceral experience. It is just about one of the cleanest, forms. It's the, coolest form of film that you can get. It's not quite as clean as like a digital projection, but there's something amazing about it. It's very high resolution. It's very widescreen. And watching these aerial battles specifically in 70 millimeter was kind of mind blowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I definitely need to go see it.
And now you may not have the opportunity, but I'm just telling anyone who does, if you're anywhere near a 70 millimeter theater, go see Dunkirk.
Watch it.
Yeah, it's 140 minutes. It's an hour and 40 minutes, I should say. You will be spellbound from start to finish.
Okay. All right. So Dunkirk
that's
and
what
70
I'm
millimeter.
saying.
That is your recommendation if you can go find that. So
people here in Portland can go see it at the Hollywood Theater.
All right. Well, there we go. Just a little bit about the weekend box office and what you can go see in the theater. So Dunkirk 70 millimeter, that sold me on it. I definitely want to go see that.
It's pretty epic.
Let's start getting tilting back towards here our comic book character question. So, and I just saw somebody else jump in. Rick says Spectre should get their own comic book series. Actually, comic book movie or television show. I kind of think Spectre might be. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like everybody's going to get one here at some point. But it's interesting to see what people are saying. Now, the reason this kind of goes in, it just kind of leading into this, one of the big news this week, part of the big news this week about streaming services is that Disney has announced it is going to be leaving Netflix entirely, taking its stuff.
Well, we don't know exactly what they're doing.
We don't know exactly.
We know that they may not be renewing their contracts, but that's all still in negotiations. We've been billing it as this Disney pulling out of Netflix because not long ago Disney contracted all of their movies to go through Netflix.
Well, it said they do plan to pull. Do they not plan to pull all the movies from Netflix?
Basically, they plan to pull out of their contract. No, I'm not like saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's a little deeper than this. Like so basically, what Disney is doing is not so much saying screw you to Netflix, but they're saying we're going on our own. And a lot of people thought this was going to happen a long time ago, but before they did all this, it was kind of shocking to see that Disney made this deal with Netflix to basically play all of their movies on Netflix. So now what they're going to do is create their own streaming services. There have been rumors that they're going to create separate streaming services for separate properties, including possibly one for their Marvel movies, one for their Star Wars movies, and definitely one for ESPN.
ESPN, that's coming out next year. Yeah, so ESPN's already happening.
But this pullback from Netflix isn't going to happen until 2019. But Netflix maintains that they are still negotiating for rights to these movies for Marvel and Star Wars. So we'll see how that all pans out.
I'm going to guess they don't get the rights to this. But the
interesting question would be if Disney did pull out everything and decide to go alone with Disney with Star Wars or Marvel for a separate streaming service, will people pay for that?
Yeah.
I frankly don't think people want to buy all these bifurcated streaming services. We've talked about this on the show before. It's getting ridiculous.
Right.
Everything has its own streaming service. AMC is doing it now. FX Plus is doing it now. That's FX Plus is FX's separate streaming service from Fox's streaming service.
Right.
And they're not standalone. They're available through Comcast. But basically what's happening is every single thing wants to get its own streaming service now.
And it's getting to be so many, it's going to have to start... It's going to have to start narrowing back down at some point. But Disney is powerful enough; they could pull this off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why they would owe Netflix anything.
Well, they don't. But the question is, can they make more
unless
money?
Netflix wanted to just pay a ton.
Well, they do pay a ton. That's how those contracts happen. But the question is, will Disney make more money streaming through Netflix with Marvel and Star Wars, or would they make more money by charging $5 a month for those streaming services? And they have to do those numbers. But then the other thing is, are they trying to grow their own streaming services as a brand? So maybe that might be worth it to them to lose some money from Netflix. But I think they will actually lose money if they make people pay for Star Wars on its own.
You think so?
I think people will go out and they will pirate them.
I mean, I think
that people will buy the Blu-rays and just say, I've got them on Blu-ray. I just don't know that somebody's going to pay for a separate streaming service for one type of movie.
Well, I mean, because they bought, a controlling share of BAMTech, who does a lot of this different streaming services. They work with a lot of different companies. So I don't know. I could see them actually going for that and doing it. I don't think that they're going to make... I mean, maybe if they just did one big Disney streaming service where you got Marvel, Star Wars, and the Disney products,
that would be cool.
I think they could easily.
I think that's totally possible.
Make money on that.
I just don't know if they cut them all up if they could even make money.
Now, it's a good point here, is Lee is saying, but hasn't HBO now really been, has HBO now really been that successful? I guess Lee's asking that question. I mean, it has. I think so. Yeah, and
it's one of the more successful services.
And how much original content do you really get? I mean, honestly, I have HBO, and the movies aren't that good. Every now and then you get maybe one or two new ones, but mostly it's old movies. It's the original content that you pay for.
Right.
And even out of that, there's still a lot of series that just aren't that good.
Well, especially on the Disney Channel.
Yeah, well, yeah.
people might do
I'm
that
talking
for
about
their
HBO
kids
in general.
Yeah, I mean,
people still pay for that.
I pay for it because you want your Game of Thrones.
Yep.
You want certain things that are must-haves.
Yeah.
But it's really an interesting question, and we've been talking about Netflix and HBO both trying to become each other. Netflix is trying to make enough content to step away from all the deals that it makes, and it's going global.
Yeah.
HBO's been global since the 80s. So those two companies have always been coming at each other, but it's been weird watching Disney sit on the sidelines. And Disney stock has been dropping like a rock because ESPN is losing money from cable providers.
Yeah, I mean, I think ESPN just fired a ton of staff.
They fired
keep on
staff.
firing
They're
staff
losing. They're losing viewers every year, and they're losing revenue from that. So Disney is way behind, basically, right now when it comes to the streaming game. And here they are, just kind of saying, "Oh, okay, well, we'll do this." And so they paid $1.5 billion for a bigger piece of BAM Tech, which they mention HBO now. BAM Tech created the app for HBO now, and they also did MLB and all that
let's
stuff.
be honest, $1.5 billion isn't that much money for Disney.
No, and that's the crazy thing about Disney. They made more money. Their studios alone made more money than any other studio last year, and their stock was still plummeting, and that's because of ESPN.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of nuts. Well, I mean, that's because ESPN pays those giant contracts to the leagues to broadcast that stuff.
And it's also just because investors get
billions
scared.
Of dollars that they pay to broadcast whatever college football for so many games. It's a lot of money.
Right, but it's also just investors saying, "Ooh, ESPN looks bad. I'm
out."
Now the Disney stock goes down. So
they lost 12 million subscribers. In 2017. Dang, that is a lot.
But I would pay for a standalone
12 million since 2011. I'm sorry.
Depending on how much it was, I would pay for a standalone ESPN.
Yeah.
But it's a mess.
All right.
The streaming world's a mess.
Well, let's get into the comic book side. So let's get back to Netflix. And sorry to circle back around on that. It is a fascinating conversation, and I do want to see what people are saying and what your comments and questions are on this. So as far as comic book movies and television shows, there is no worry that we are going to run out of ones.
No, and one last thing on that. For those who are worried about the Netflix Marvel TV series, which was one of my first questions, those are considered to be Netflix original content, and as far as we can tell, they will not be affected by this deal.
Yeah.
So your Defender series, your Jessica Jones, your Luke Cage, that's not going anywhere. And we should also say that this deal doesn't end until 2019, the original contracts.
And Steven just said, as far as going back to which comic book character should get their own movie or series next, Steven said the Punisher. Punisher is already getting
Punisher's coming.
Punisher's coming this fall. That's when we're going to get the Punisher series. But let's talk about Netflix. So they made a move of their own. This is
some say in response to this.
Some say in response. Some say, I'm sure there was something in the plans for this already. But they acquired an entirely different independent comic book publisher named Millarworld, founded by Mark Miller, who's kind of a legendary publisher. He's worked both with Marvel and DC, and now his own independent universe, Millarworld. And if you're a big fan of Millarworld comics, I'm sorry, I'm just learning about it, but I am. You can't know about everything. Millarworld properties include Kick-Ass, The Kingsman, and Wanted. So those have all been turned into movies. And
huge movies.
Yeah, huge movies. The Kingsman's already got another movie coming out, and Kick-Ass is great and has a couple out. So Netflix acquired basically the entire company, and Mark Miller's still going to run it. But it's the rights to all of the comics and graphic novels they already have, plus new original content. And there's no plans yet as far as what's going to get made into television series or movies or how they're going to utilize it. But they just have this huge catalog now to choose from. And that's what I wanted to take a look at, too. And I took a look through some of them. There's a website, inverse.com, kind of gathered a whole bunch of the different series and to give you some information about them, about what could get turned into television series. I've got one up there right now. That's Starlight. And I just kind of want to detail a couple of them because some of them sound like they could be good, make a good movie or television series. Starlight is let's see, it says combining superheroes with space operas. It's a adventure about a galactic swashbuckler named Duke McQueen who comes out of retirement to answer a distress call on a faraway planet and then goes, cavorting around the galaxy. Kind of sounds like a bit like a what am I thinking of? A little Guardians of the Galaxy-ish
Yeah, there's got some Flash Gordon in there, maybe.
Yeah, some Flash Gordon.
Buckaroo Banzai.
Starlight, so that's a possibility.
That sounds fun.
I picked out just a few of them here. We've also got, this one would be interesting. I could totally see American Jesus. So American Jesus is
That's
the book
a provocative title.
So American Jesus, and then again, this is a Millarworld property. Follows an ordinary 12-year-old boy named Jody Christensen who discovers that he is in fact the returning vessel of Jesus Christ.
Oh boy.
So he's kind of like a superhero, but he's still a 12-year-old kid. And he can turn water into wine and make crippled people walk and possibly undoing thousands of years of history in the making. So it'd be a boy Jesus basically.
Didn't they already do that? Wasn't that Lord of the Rings?
Kinda. So American Jesus, another property. Let's see. There's Chrononauts. Chrononauts, it's the story of two time travelers named Corbin Quinn and Danny Riley, who are best friends and scientific geniuses who embark on man's first steps through time and then, go through adventures. If you have time travelers, you can, that has a lot of room.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people say that Netflix is just going to make a bunch of anime series, which is becoming huge, and
that's
a big part of their. Not that it hasn't been huge, but it's becoming bigger and bigger, and that's a big part of their global rollout. And anime is easy to roll out in many countries because you can just pull out the dialogue,
plug it in.
Yeah, plug in the new dialogue. They've done that with anime for years and years. So that's what some people are presuming that Netflix is betting on with the Millarworld bet. Is
it's
that
just turning it all into anime.
Just a lot of it might be anime. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's we should note that this is Netflix's first acquisition. It's first major acquisition. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Just to highlight a couple of the other ones really quick, just that I thought Reborn was another one. Reborn, it's basically. It imagines the afterlife as it's not like heaven or hell, but it's a game. And so this guy could totally see as an anime series where you're fighting other people. It's kind of Final Fantasy-esque. So that's one. And then the last one I wanted to bring up was Superior. So Superior is another one, a Millarworld property. And this is about a wheelchair-bound kid who makes a deal with the devil to become a superhero named Superior. But then his bully also makes a deal with the devil to become the supervillain. And so that's how they...
man.
Yeah. So
that's deep.
There we are.
Yeah.
There's the ones I pulled out. So we'll see.
Yeah. And there's a new one that they just came out with called Huck about a superhero that protects this town, and in return they don't tell anybody about him. It kind of sounds like Hancock a little bit.
Okay.
He's kind of like a Superman-esque character. So there is a lot to
There's
mine
a lot out there
from this, and Netflix is going to just pick and choose what they want.
Yeah. Let's see. Taking a look here in the chat. Melvin says, "I'm afraid of comic book movie burnout." Yeah. That's possible. At the same time, Evanuel is saying they should make Dark Hawk into a movie. And also, what's the name of the company? It's Millarworld, but it's Millar World, Millarworld. So that is the company that Netflix did acquire. All right, we've got more comic book news. It just doesn't happen. Just another quick side note on Netflix, and I don't even think we need to play the trailer for this. Unless you think so. Disjointed is going to be a comedy series that Netflix is also debuting, starring Kathy Bates. It's like a laugh track. The creators of 2.5 Men and The Big Bang Theory, only it takes place in a illegalized marijuana shop with Kathy Bates as the eccentric owner, and and lots of weed jokes and blah, blah, blah.
This is the legalized cannabis jumping the shark in television form right here.
Yeah, no.
Chuck Lorre... Yeah, is the guy who produces all this stuff, and we heard about this a long time out. I think he also did The Ranch.
It makes sense.
That's Chuck Lorre,
which is also awful.
Yeah, and so this is like sort of the, stoner's worst vision of what a good stoner TV show would be.
Yeah,
I don't know. We could give it a shot, but anything with a laugh track is and a multi-camera sitcom at this point is. Just,
I will not give it a shot.
Yeah,
no. So I'm just going to say that right now. Also, David Letterman is going to be coming back and hosting. A show on Netflix as well in 2018. So that's pretty cool. Coming back out of retirement. It's going to be long-form interviews with he can get pretty much whoever he wants.
And he's just been doing that anyway. I guess he figured he might as well just get paid for it.
And he should. Let's bounce back to the other thing about Netflix here in a minute. Maybe we should talk about some more of the comic book stuff talking about here. So we did get some images for Deadpool 2 this week, which was pretty exciting. So we know, after all of the speculation, we did finally get our Cable, who's going to be playing Cable, which is Josh Brolin. And he posted a picture of him in the full makeup with the glowing eye.
He looks badass.
Looks pretty badass.
He looks so cool.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be pretty amazing. Ryan Reynolds actually posted that picture.
Yeah.
So
and there was also a picture posted. I don't know if we have it here, but there's also a
did say
picture
it.
posted of him in makeup, and they've got like
where they're getting it.
a full thing of whatever that stuff is that like does the face forming on the
Yeah,
side of his face, and Josh Brolin's all in, man.
Yeah,
He's
Josh
a good
Brolin.
actor. This should be a really fun movie. I hope.
Yeah. So there we go. So a little bit of news on that. Another very obscure to me comic book series that's getting a movie. It's starring Chris Pratt. Is Cowboy Ninja Viking. Yes, that's right. Cowboy Ninja Viking.
And some of this, you can't make this up, folks.
This is
some
from
of this stuff just
Universal
sounds
Pictures.
nonsensical.
It's got a release date, June 18th, 2019,
Yep.
starring Chris Pratt.
And was this the moment when
When jumped the shark?
was this the burnout that he
This
was
could
talking
be
about?
it.
Is this the comic book burnout?
This could be that jumping the shark, the comic book burnout. So, Cowboy Ninja Viking stars Duncan, who is an assassin who can draw upon the combat skills of 3 different warriors: the cowboy, the ninja, and the Viking, depending on who he's fighting. And there's a group of assassins, all of which draw their powers from warrior trios.
You know what it kind of reminds me just now when you
We
said
just said
this?
snakes on a plane.
Yeah, Snakes on a Plane. That just reminds me of Lone Star. Did you ever watch Lone Star?
No.
It was a He-Man sort of copycat, like from the
Yeah.
same company, but it was this sheriff who could draw on the powers of, I think it was a cougar and an eagle and maybe a bear. Yeah, it was a bear. But Lone Star's sweet. But yeah, it's
Rich
kind
just
of
said sounds like a Mortal Kombat character.
I don't know.
It does.
Maybe they're gonna
Yeah.
make it comedic.
Finish him.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, Cowboy Ninja Viking. You are going to get that with
No commas.
as a Chris Pratt movie.
Cowboy
Coming
Ninja
soon.
Viking.
This may be the point where
grammatically
Chris-
incorrect.
This may be where Chris Pratt jumps the shark as well. I mean, I don't know. So how do you go from star
hard to
pilot to
say.
Cowboy Ninja Viking?
It's hard to say.
All right. Well, we did find out just a couple of other things for news this week. The Flash movie, Flashpoint, which we got the name from Comic-Con, found out it's coming out not until 2020, which seems way too far away. But Wonder Woman has been confirmed that she will be making an appearance in Flashpoint.
As we were saying, and
I think they just have
I'm
to
assuming
shove-
they took our advice and they're just going to try to push Wonder Woman into everything because
Yeah.
she's the only critically popular thing that they have.
They
so
do. Yeah, Wonder Woman's got to be in everything now.
She's going to be the leg that holds up the table at this point. Yeah.
Yep. So that's their Tony Stark.
As she should be. Yeah, exactly. She's now their Tony Stark.
Yep. So
That's right.
Wonder Woman going to be in there. We did get some casting news about Hellboy, the reboot of Hellboy that's going to be coming out, and Mila Jovovich is going to be playing the villain.
Yeah, this is surprising to me because I thought she had a deal where she would only do Resident Evil movies for the rest of her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this could be cool. We haven't seen her in anything since she began the Resident Evil train.
Right.
And
yeah.
so this is going to be really interesting. Yeah.
She's playing the Blood Queen. That is who
Right.
she's going to be. Which, I mean, I think she's awesome, so I'm all on board with that.
We thought this movie was actually going to be called The Rise of the Blood Queen.
Yeah.
But now they say they're just calling it Hellboy. Like
Okay.
They're starting all over again with the reboot and just calling it Hellboy.
All right.
But, we're interested in this one. It's going to be, David Harbour instead of Ron Perlman.
Yep.
It's going to have Ian McShane as the professor who finds Hellboy.
All in on that.
This movie is definitely becoming more interesting the more we hear about it.
Let's see. Melvin just said, "Don't burn out Wonder Woman, please." Yeah, I know. That's the other danger they have.
Hey, Tony Stark, it works for him.
Yeah, that's true.
Although he's a little bit better at cracking jokes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can evolve. I mean, it's got to be Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's all they got.
Yeah.
All right. Something else for the other spinoffs before we kind of get to our last subjects here. But for another movie, now we know that Sony wants to get in on the action too for the comic book movies.
Yep.
And they are
I
taking.
thought we were just doing Netflix and Disney this week. Are we allowed to talk about Sony?
I don't know. It's getting so confusing on here because this is Sony that's making this one, right?
This is Sony. They've partnered with Marvel, which is Disney, for the Spider-Man property to let Marvel make those movies, and they're just going to make money off of them. But they still need to make their own movies. Sony has not been doing great lately. And we weren't so sure about this when we first heard about it, but I have to say, the more I hear about it, the more interested I am.
You think so?
We should tell the crowd, it is the Venom movie.
Venom, yes.
And we found out a new player, and that is Riz Ahmed is rumored to be playing Tom Hardy's sort of, opposite side, his villain, and he's going to be playing Carnage. Yeah.
Okay.
So Tom Hardy is Venom. This guy will be Carnage.
Okay.
We think.
Yeah.
That's what the rumor is.
That's what
right
the
now.
rumor is.
And
right
for
now,
those who don't know him, he's from Nightcrawler. That's why I said that. And he's also from Rogue One. He was in Rogue One.
Okay. Oh, that's right. He was in Rogue One. Okay. So yeah, Carnage going to be part of the Venom movie, and that's one of the things is that. What they're doing is taking essentially Spider-Man villains and giving them their own movies.
Yeah.
So how do you make the villains the stars? I
Venom
don't know.
is going to be the sort of
Black Cat,
anti-hero, and then
Saber.
Carnage is going to be his supervillain, sort of opposite. So the way they're building that, it makes me think that Venom is going to do some good, even though he's usually sort of a villain.
I mean, it's probably a Suicide Squad kind of feel to it.
And we
like
do
that.
know that this is going to be a gritty telling, and it's going to be rated R.
Yeah.
Those are the things that give me some hope, and plus Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'll probably give this a watch just because it is rated R. But as Lee says,
anything rated
Squad,
R that's like comic book, I kind of want to go see.
Yeah. Let's see. T. Allen just said Moon Knight would be suited for a good TV series. Yeah, I could see that actually going into the Defenders realm. The Moon Knight's kind of like Marvel's Batman.
Okay.
Ish. He's a rich guy. If I remember correctly, the Moon Knight got his power for opened some Egyptian tomb or something like that, and was gifted the powers of the Moon Knight, and he can fly around, but he's rich at the same time. I don't know. Yeah. I could see it though. I mean, I would trust them to turn that into a good one. So there we go. I think,
but I gotta say, I'm more interested in these Millarworld characters because they're not Marvel or DC.
Yeah, it's something completely
different. Which have been sort of parodying each other for years. I mean, I love Marvel's stuff, but you talk about your saturation, and Marvel has 22 films planned already, and they're going to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the Millarworld thing is more interesting, because these are characters that. They are a comic book, but they could be anything. They're just really interesting, different kinds of characters.
Yeah, and different kinds of movies.
Comics.
And they don't. Yeah, it doesn't have to have the superhigh feel. It can just be graphic novels.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to have so many staples of the common superhero character.
Yeah. Yeah, so I agree. That could really be one. Richard said the Dayman deserves a movie. That's true.
The Dayman and the Night versus the Nightman.
Yeah,
I do not like the Nightman. He sounds awful.
Gotta pay the troll.
Always sunny. Always sunny.
All right. Well, let's kind of wind it down here. We've got our final thing that we want to bring up to you, just I guess about Avatar, because the Avatar that is something that is not a comic. The Avatar. Huh?
These avatars with the kids and their avatars.
You know what I'm talking about?
Go watch an Avatar.
There's gonna be how many more Avatar movies now? Like
five,
4,
I think there's
100.
5
I don't
sequels.
know.
Yeah, 5 sequels.
So 5 sequels.
Maybe it's 4 sequels.
Four sequels. Five movies total. Anyway, Avatar coming back, I believe in 2019.
That's
is
the first one, I believe. Yeah.
There's going to be a series more, like a bunch more of them, all revisiting this. But I guess they're having trouble with the villains, so they're bringing the villains back from the dead?
No, there's no trouble. But what we do know is they're bringing back Colonel Quaritch, who is played by Stephen Lang, and Corporal Lyle Wainfleet, who is played by Matt Gerald. They're bringing those guys back, even though, spoiler alert, they both died in Avatar.
That's the thing. They're both dead. Yeah. So what, they're going to bring them back as avatars or something? I mean, you can't find any other villains in this whole entire universe. Is it all still going to be just on that planet and they're all riding around on the dragonflies or whatever? Or?
Yeah, what did James Cameron say? He was just like, yeah, Stephen Lang, he's coming. He's going to be great. He's a big part of this series.
Oh, cloned. Yeah, okay.
That's what I was going to say. Now, some people have said cyborgs. I have been putting my money on the clone situation because it is in the future. So, but will he have the scar? That's the question.
Oh, he'll have to.
They'll probably give him one.
Yep.
Just so he matches.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see how the hell they do this because
we'll be talking about this for 2 more years.
For like a decade, we'll be talking about Avatar movies. All right, but there we go. So Avatar getting about 5 movies on top of it. I think that's probably about it for today.
Oh, did you not want to talk about the Dumbo live action movie?
No, I bumped that. Sorry. I got to the end of this. I'm like, no.
Let's be done now.
We'll skip that.
All right, well, that's coming. Right. Just know.
Yes. All right, taking a look here in the chat. People are still coming in with their different comic book characters. Youngblood, Wildcats, Gen 13, Shark Knife. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I don't know those series, so I'll probably go back through and check some of these out.
We opened a wild Pandora's box
We
that
did.
we're going to have to research.
There's a lot there. But I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This is Between the Streams, and we broadcast this show live Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific every Friday, kind of recapping the week in movies and television news that we found out and letting you know about what we've read about. We do a lot of research on this stuff and just kind of share the information. Now you can tell everybody that there's a billion comic book movies coming out in case you didn't already know that. And just finding out what people think about this and what your thoughts are on all of that. You can always send us an email, podcast@digitaltrends.com. Any final thoughts there, Ryan? Just go see Dunkirk?
Dunkirk 70 millimeter.
70 millimeters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is the recommendation.
Worth the entry fee.
Okay. Want to close this out with Rick and Morty?
Yeah. I was going to do that.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Well, all right. That's it for Between the Streams.
Morty, we've hit superhero saturation. Oh no, Rick.
Okay. I think you were better at the beginning. Well, I'll just dub that in afterwards.
I was laughing too hard.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
There's still a lot of good characters out there, Rick.
Awesome.